All right, we should be live. Trying this on my device. So if anything happens, we'll just switch devices and we'll keep going. All right. So we in here once again. And we will be talking about what it means to be on demon time. All right. All right. So we will get started in a few minutes here. Just testing everything to see if everything is good. Now let me see if I wanted to share my screen. Let me see if I'm able to do that. So we're testing this out on the StreamYard. I just want to make sure if I share my screen, if everything would be good. Let's see. All right. Let's see. So let's see if I wanted to share my screen. Wait a minute. Let's see. Let's see. Again, I'm still figuring this out. Again, just in case I wanted to share my screen and show something from Google or whatever, some images. So I'm just figuring out how to do this. But I'll do this on my own time. All right. So I don't know how to do it. Let's see. All right. So let me leave out of here. So I still haven't figured that out yet. So I'll do that in the background. All right. So we in here again. We'll start at the 5-minute mark. Turn this down a little bit. So we will be talking about what it means to be on demon time. And again, I'm just letting it run just to see if we run into any glitches or anything like that. I think so far so good. I'm not seeing any glitches. Hopefully the audio is good. So, all right, so we'll get started. So yeah, I just been cooling. Well, not really. Been highly active. I done got myself some resistance bands. Let me actually go get it right now. I done got myself a diffuser. So actually, give me a second. Let me go grab this real quick so y'all can see what I'm doing. So hold on 1 second here. All right. So as we see, and pick myself up some resistance bands. Again, I'm just being health conscious. All right. So y'all, just showing y'all what I got going on here. Just being health conscious. So I can make my workouts a lot more versatile. Right. So I'll just be hitting these resistance bands. Right. So whenever I got free time, right, just hitting the resistance bands. Right. Getting it in. Got myself a diffuser, so it smell like essential oils in here right now. Got the aromatherapy going on, just to help myself relax, help take away the stress and all that. Trying to treat my skin a little better. So I got some black soap, shea butter soap. Treat instead of getting the traditional soap that may have the chemicals may be a little bit too harsh. Obviously, my skin is a little sensitive, so I'm just trying out some new soap. Got myself a little sponge. I ain't never even used something like this before. I'm just used to using regular rags and, face towels, so on and so forth. So I'm gonna see how this thing works out. See if it's a go or not. What's up, Ty? What's going on? So again, I'm just keeping y'all abreast. Just keeping y'all abreast. Because I'm really taking it seriously. All right. So again, I just wake up in the middle of the night, just hitting these resistance bands, right? Hitting the push-ups. Trying to knock out about 100 a day. I know it. It ain't nothing for people who's more advanced. But I'm building myself up. Like I say, what 2023, I'm gonna be on point. 2023, so I'm just giving myself a little time. You know what I mean? Doing what I gotta do. All right, so we're good here. So basically, what this is about is what does it mean to be on demon time, right? So we've heard this phrase a lot, in the hip hop community, in the streets and all that, people want demon time. But here's, my perspective, because obviously I'm a part of the hip hop community. I am hip hop, just like you are hip hop if you consider yourself hip hop. So let me give you more of a occult perspective as to what's really going on here. Now, if you take it back to 2020, if you go back to early 2020, I was speaking about, like before COVID even hit, I was speaking about we will be moving into the phase where we will have to wear the helmet of Shin or the helmet of Pluto. For those who are not familiar with what I'm talking about, according to Greek mythology, Pluto, the Cyclops, basically the Cyclops was making weapons for various gods. So it was the Cyclops that made like the thunderbolts for Zeus, right? So when we see Zeus with the thunderbolts, that was actually a gift from the Cyclops. So when it came to Pluto or Hades, because I'm saying Pluto is actually the Roman god. But if we're talking about Greek mythology, the word would be Hades. So Hades, the gifts from the Cyclops that was given to Hades was the helmet, which made him invisible. And that's how he was able to kidnap Persephone and take her to the underworld. And after a deal was negotiated, she would spend 6 months in the underworld and 6 months, in the heavens. right? For just to give a little background context. So I spoke about this in early 2020 before COVID was even a thing, right? Because I was getting the information from the spirit directly, and the spirit was letting me know, like, we will become invisible. It's time to be invisible. So it wasn't just limited to just staying in the house necessarily. It was more about you have to shield yourself from the world. You have to move as if you are invisible. So when people speak about demon time, they're basically talking about the helmet of Hades, which makes you invisible. So a person moving on demon time essentially would be invisible. Now, how you use that is completely up to you. Some people may use that to commit crimes and to avoid detection. Then other people would do it in a different way, where you're able to navigate the astral plane or you're able to navigate the physical plane undetected. This is also called remote viewing, being able to view locations and remaining undetected. Because we are in a time, again, all of these attributes can be used for us or against us. So it would be in your best. Let me actually go back to the previous song, okay? It will be in your best interest to remain invisible. What's up, Intense Heart Medicine? What's up with you? What's up with you? It will be in your best interest to remain invisible because we know the government wants to track everything, right? The government wants to know, your bank account. The government wants to know if you're paying your taxes. The government essentially wants to track your movement. Google wants to track you everywhere you go. So we think we're just using like Google Maps to find our locations, and we're being tracked 24/7, right? We're being tracked based on what we browse on the internet. So if you're not using a VPN, everything you do on the internet is being recorded. Then of course everybody wants to post on social media. Everybody wants everybody to know what they're doing on social media, right? You gotta keep everybody up the breast of what you're doing, right? But if we're talking about demon time, the purpose is to remain undetected. The purpose is to remain invisible. So it's as if you're moving through life with a VPN. Just to bring it into modern day terms, your whole life is navigated as if you are navigating through a VPN, which is a filter, meaning everything that you do is being filtered by a VPN. So if your life and everything you do is being filtered by a VPN, no one is able to track your movements. Google can't track you. The government can't track you. People can't track you. You remain essentially undetected. There's nothing nobody can do to you can say get the one up on you. Because we're seeing this happen too much in hip hop. We're seeing this happen too much in rap. Where people are popping up dead because they got backdoored. Backdoor meaning they got set up by people that were close to them. A lot of times it's a person right next to you that end up setting you up, and you get in a situation where you get robbed of your life or your possessions. This is occurring way too much. But as I said, I gave y'all the warning back in early 2020 before any of this began to pop off. So now that we're in 2022, going into 2023, and we see how many people are dying. We're seeing all these robberies, especially in LA. You got celebrities' houses are getting robbed. It's not just rappers, it's all entertainers. And of course, it's the everyday person, which is why a lot of people in LA, they don't even want to walk around with your jewelry because you become a target. Right? So instead of just blaming everybody, we have to take responsibility for our own actions, which is why I'm saying if you decide to move on demon time, this essentially just means that you are undetected. People literally cannot see you. So you are literally invisible. Now, of course, when you look at yourself, you can still see yourself. If you talk to a person, you can still communicate with a person. But I'm speaking about the people that have ill intent for you, as we call the evil eye. When it comes to the evil eye, you remain undetected. People cannot spot you. People who do not have your best interests at heart cannot spot you. Therefore, you will not be able to be set up. You will not be able to be backdoored because you are moving on demon time so that you remain undetected from those who are your adversaries because you have the helmet of Hades on. You have activated the abilities of the Cyclops, which is a one-eye being. So the Cyclops only has a third eye. You can say the Cyclops doesn't have two physical eyes. All the Cyclops has is one third eye, or which will be the first eye, right? So when we look at the Egypt or the Kemetic eye, they have the eye, as we say, the eye of Ra. Some people call it the eye of Horus. This is really what it's talking about because there's actually two eyes. See, everybody places that emphasis on the eye of Ra, but how many people do you know that's speaking about the eye of Wajet? The eye of Wajet, which represents the lunar currency. Because if the eye of Ra or the eye of Horus represents the solar currency, then the eye of Wajet will represent the lunar currency or the moon currency. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about moving with the lunar currency. When you are moving with the lunar currency, that's you moving through the subconscious realm. That's you moving through the astral plane. That's you moving in places and people cannot see you. You're able to shield your aura. I know this for a fact. There are certain deities that you can work with that people literally can't even detect you. Like, you will have to hit them. You will have to make your presence known. Like, you can be right behind a person. The person does not even detect your energy. You're completely cloaked. You will essentially have to make your presence known. Your presence is just not already known. But you see, we live in a time where everybody wants to have the eye of Ra. Everybody wants to have that power. Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be heard. But these are the exact situations we are getting into that's leaving us in bad situations. And we keep seeing these examples happen over and over and over again. We just lost another rapper, Coolio, the West Coast rapper from the old school. The old school rapper, the Gangsta Paradise, he just lost his life, right? They said he was found in a bathroom unresponsive. He was in his manager's, they called it a friend, but he was in his manager's home and he was found in the bathroom unresponsive. So he literally just died in the bathroom when he was at his manager's house. Imagine that. He was 59 years old. Imagine that. But we don't have to make this whole live stream about that particular incident. I'm just bringing it to your awareness and I'm bringing it to your attention because obviously this will be a big story. In hip hop, it already is a big story. And it will become, as more and more information comes out, we will have more insight as to what really occurred. Some people are saying it was a heart attack. So he basically went into the bathroom, suffered a heart attack, and he just essentially passed away. Which, for anybody who has witnessed a heart attack, or what happens when you are having a heart attack, people don't just go off in the bathroom and just sit on the toilet and just pass out. That's really not how heart attacks play out. People are, loud or screaming, or, there's some type, they're trying to get help. They're not just going somewhere to a back room and just, all right, it is what it is. So it may be some funny business involved, but again, we're not going to know that till more evidence come out. But however, we know if this was a sanctioned hit, that evidence will never come out. That evidence will never be revealed. So we just have to keep it in our mind's eye to really know that this was a sacrifice, as they say, a blood sacrifice for someone who broke the oath. Because I seen an interview that he did recently. He recently did an interview speaking about these things. And then right after this interview, he literally did an interview and he was asked, Does he believe in the Illuminati and blood sacrifices and all that? And his response was he wasn't necessarily approached directly, but he was approached indirectly. Indirectly, as he was asked to, perform gay acts, gay sexual acts, and he was asked to perform immoral acts that he refused. So he recently just revealed these things on a podcast. I think it was Hip Hop Daily or something like that. He just revealed this on a podcast, and lo and behold, he's gone now. Because that would technically be, as we say, breaking the oath. So you can say he technically broke the oath, then lo and behold, he's gone. Just like that. He was just alive and well. I'm sure he didn't have no health problems, no health complications. And lo and behold, he's out of here just like that. So we're going to continue to see this happen. Because unfortunately, when you are an entertainer, it's hard for you to move on demon time. And I say that because people are going to always know where you are. You always have to show up for a show, for a meeting, to navigate with the business. Like, people will always essentially know where your location is because you have to make it known. Because that's how you make money. When you are an entertainer, you have to entertain. So you have to put on shows. You have to show up. You have to do gigs. So people are going to always have the drop on you because that's just a lifestyle of an entertainer. So that's why I'm here to say it's over with for that. You should not strive to be an entertainer at this point. You should not strive to be someone who has to drop their location if you don't need to. That should be behind you. That should not be something you strive to want to do because you have no idea the type of intentions a person may have for you, especially if you have taken an oath. So if you break this oath, they can take your life and they don't reap any karma. So that's why they call it a blood sacrifice. They call it a blood sacrifice is because the death doesn't come attached with karma. It's the same thing in the streets. If you tell about crimes that you and the people in your gang commit, that's a violation that is punishable by death. So when you die, no one's really looking for a get back because you were the one that broke the oath. See, it's different if you get killed by your opposition and you held your oath. Then people, will be ready to get back because you died, you can say, loyal to whatever that you pledge allegiance to. So in those cases, then people will want revenge or vengeance. But when you break your oath, that's a death without karma. So your own people can take you out, then who's going to ride for you? Right? They're going to cover up the evidence and it's just going to be another day. Because you broke the oath, so basically you can say you died dishonorably. It's the same thing in the military. You have an honorable discharge and you have a dishonorable discharge. If you leave the military, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force with an honorable discharge, you reap all the benefits. But if you leave with a dishonorable discharge, you are not able to reap the benefits, such as the GI Bill, and they paying for your schooling and all the benefits that come with, serving in the military. You don't have access to those benefits because you have a dishonorable discharge. It's the same thing. That's why there's always a parallel between the streets and the government. And that's why they're always synchronized, because they need one another, because they essentially live by the same laws, the laws of the jungle. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. They live by these codes. They're not waiting for the justice system. So when they killed, let's just say, Osama bin Laden or bin Laden, do you think they got a court order to do that? Or did they just take the hit because they were sanctioned to do so? So like when we look at these foreign adversaries, because they're killing like a bunch of ISIS leaders. Like a lot of ISIS leaders are coming up dead recently, right? Do you think they went through a court to do that? Do you think they went through the justice system? Or did they just take it into their own hands because that person was already an enemy and they just took justice into their own hands? As we call street justice or divine justice. They didn't go through a court system. They didn't wait for a judge to okay that sanction, that hit. They just went on and made it happen on their own. All right. And this is how the true law works. See, they don't want you to operate by this law as a civilian or as a citizen. You only operate by this law, or in other words, let me say this correctly. They want the citizens to go through the justice system. They want the citizens to go through a jury. They want the citizens to go through a trial. But did Osama bin Laden have a trial? Did these ISIS leaders have a trial? Did they get arrested and have a trial? Or did they just blow their ass up or shoot their ass down? There was no time for a trial. There was no time for a judge. There was no time for a jury. They just blew their ass down. So that lets you know that does not apply to everybody. That only applies if you are a citizen. So as a citizen, you are not allowed to take the law into your own hands. That's why it's called street justice, because that's you taking law into your own hands, which you are not supposed to do as a citizen. Just like a police officer has a license to kill. So even if they kill unjustly, they still have a whole police union that's going to back them. That's going to make sure that they either keep their job or able to get another job elsewhere, even if they are in the wrong. That's why many police officers get off when they are clearly guilty of cold-blooded murder. A lot of police get off and they are guilty of cold-blooded murder because of police unions that protects them. They are protected by a police union. So even when they step out of bounds, because they are technically officers of the law, they're able to step out of bounds because they have a license to kill. They have been sanctioned to kill. Just like back in the day with the gangs, you could not kill unless it came from a higher up. So if that kill was not sanctioned, you would actually get disciplined. But that was back in the day. Nowadays, they don't have to go through a chain of command. If they want to take you out, they're just going to take you out. They become their own leaders now. So that's why things are so chaotic now, because it really is not a chain of command. It's all about clicks, right? As long as the clicks say it's okay, then it's okay. So that's why we're seeing so much chaos now. And that's why, again, I'm advising everybody to put on your helmet of Hades so that you remain undetected, so that you're not putting your life and your safety in the hands of no one else. You're not putting your life and your safety in the hands of a police officer, of the government, of the justice system. You're not waiting for them to make things right. You make things right because you have the ability to do it by your own hands, by your own magical abilities, right? And this is all I'm about. You know what I mean? We should not have to call 911 if we know how to heal ourselves. If something is going on in your life, you should have a defense system set in place so that you can defend and protect yourself. Because the moment we allow others to do it, they're not going to have the same care and concern that you may have. They don't care or are concerned about you or your family or the people that you love like you would be. So we cannot put anything in their hands, and that's why they're lackadaisical with it. That's why they really don't care if it gets solved or not. It's really because it's really none of their business. Truly, it's really none of their business. The business is up to us. So we must take the necessary steps to move on demon time. And if we are not taking the necessary steps, we will be taken advantage of, if not by the people that's trying to harm you, by the justice system. The justice system will take advantage of you. And again, we just keep seeing this over and over and over again. All we have to do is do our history and look at how many times People were able to get away with atrocities, things that were clearly illegal, but they was able to get away scot-free. Look how many people that were hung, and it was a celebration. It was a event for the whole city, for the whole neighborhood, and like, this is illegal. You can't just take people's lives, but it happened, and it continues to happen, and nothing's going to change no time soon. That's why we don't even value our own lives, because we see the history of our lives have never been valued except by each other. We only value each other. Everybody else doesn't value our lives. That's why it's okay for so many hip hoppers and so many rappers and entertainers to die by the hundreds, and people just going about their day as if nothing is going on. Now let this happen to rock stars. Let this start happening to pop stars. Let this start happening to country singers and techno artists. If their artists were dying by the hundreds a year, things would change. They would not allow this to happen. But because hip hop is so connected to the streets, hip hop is so connected to the underground, this is the only place where this is allowed to happen, and everybody just turns their head and these crimes just go unsolved. And the only justice that occurs is street justice. The justice system can care less. So the only justice you're going to get is the street justice. And the only way you can get street justice and keep your life, because basically if you conduct street justice, somebody kills your family and you kill them, they're still going to put you in jail. They're not going to consider that this person killed your family member, because again, you are a citizen. They want you to go through the justice system. So because you have to go through the justice system, you are not allowed to take their life. Only a police officer can take their life. Only somebody who has a license to kill can take their life. So because you don't have a license to kill, you are not allowed to make those actions. And if you do, they're going to lock you up. So the only way for you to get proper justice is to move on demon time, which is the whole premise of the video. The only way for you to secure yourself, to make sure that you don't become a victim, and if you do become victimized, you're able to get the get back, you must move on demon time. You must move in a way that you remain undetected. So you're able to do what you do and not have to spend the rest of your life behind bars. You don't have to put your life in the hands of 12 jurors. You don't have to put your life in the hand of a judge. You don't have to put your life in the hands of a police officer, because that's what ends up happening most of the time, because we move off of emotions. So we end up just giving our lives to other people who don't care about our lives, and it happens over and over and over again. So that's why we just end up assed out with no one around to help us, and our whole life is just thrown away. And again, people just move on about their day. People just collect their checks, and it is what it is, right? So the only way to prevent this, for you to get the necessary justice, or for you to avoid people making you a victim, is to move on demon time. So essentially, you can say you have to bring out the demon from within you. The very thing that people are afraid of, the very thing that people try to suppress, you must exalt. What the citizens try to suppress, you must exalt. You must make that primary. Because in order to move on demon time, you have to tap into your inner demon. You have to tap into your inner devil. You can't be an angel moving on demon time. But again, we are not in an angelic place. You can be an angel after you die. But while we are here in this flawed physical world that is corrupt, you trying to be an angel in a corrupt world is like Lucifer trying to stay in heaven. This is why Lucifer was condemned to hell. Lucifer was condemned to hell because Lucifer had to get on demon time. Lucifer could not stay in heaven because You can say his demon was being exalted. So I'm like, okay, if you are exalted your demon, there's a place that you must dwell. You must dwell in the clip off. You cannot dwell in the higher heavens. But again, this earth is not located in the higher heavens. This earth is located, we are closer to hell than we are to heaven. That's why, again, people, I don't even think that's a phrase, angel time. Who the fuck is on the angel time? You don't even hear that. But you hear the demon time because we are closer to the demons than the angels. And that has always been the case. Because this is why the angels don't have free will. See, nobody wants to tell you that, but angels don't have free will. The jinn have free will. The jinn can decide whether they want to be positive or negative. Not the angel. The angels can only do what they're told to do. The angels can't go out of bounds because they don't have free will. So you can say they're more like machines. They can only go by the program that has been given to them. They can't go out of bounds. Just like a cat can only be a cat. A cat can't decide to be a dog. A dog can't decide to be a cat. They are limited to who and what they are. Only a conscious being can decide to be something else. Meaning you can start off in hell and then elevate to heaven, or you can start off in heaven and descend into hell because you have a consciousness, you have will. So because you have will, you can navigate all the worlds. As above, so below. You are not limited to just one spectrum of existence. So because we all have demons, just like we all have angels, the demons are more powerful because they can make a decision as to whether they want to fuck with you or not. The angel don't have that option. Angels just do what they're told. But the demon could decide, well, I'm going to fuck with you or not. That's why some people feel demons are more powerful because they actually can make a decision as to whether they want to fuck with you or not. Just like a human being can. A human being can decide whether they want to be positive or negative. So because they have free will, because they have that ability, this is essentially what I'm saying about demon time. You making the decision as to how you want to conduct yourself. Because you have a consciousness, you have will, you have free will, but you also have your divine will, which is called the lima. See, that's the difference between free will and divine will. So you can say a demon has free will, but you have divine will, which is the lima. You have the lima. A demon can make a free will decision, but you can make a thelemic decision. That's why you have the decision to rise to the highest stars or descend to the greatest depths in accordance to your divine will. So this is why this whole divine and demonic energy is forever present in our existence, right? Hold on. Okay. So hopefully y'all understand what I'm saying here. So let me see if I can drop this link here, because this is my whole point of being on StreamYard. Just in case anyone has anything to say, anything to add to what I'm saying, let me see if I can drop this link. So if you want to voice your opinion, feel free to do so. But let me copy this link. Let me give me 1 second here. Let me see. All right, there's a link. All right, cool. So this is the clarity so that you are not confused. Because again, a lot of stuff is said in these rhymes that go over most people's heads because they are not truly hip hop. See, a lot of people just listen to the music for entertainment purposes. The average person doesn't understand that this is a whole culture. inside music. The average person doesn't understand this. So that's why when these rappers say things, they become a part of the codex, right? The lexicon. That's how hip hop is always inventing new words. New words or new phrases are always coming into existence. They just catch on. So you can say one person said demon time. Now everybody says demon time. And just you can think of any phrase, right? Any of the phrase that's used, you can say it started from one person and it just spread it like wildfire. Because obviously when they write these rhymes, they are pulling these things out of the air, meaning these things already exist, but they were able to solidify it. And once it becomes solidified, that's why everybody just catches on to it and now everybody says it. Because you like it was destined for that word or that particular phrase to be a part of the lexicon in the first place. It just was they were just waiting for somebody to solidify it in a song. The reason I say that because a lot of these rappers are not writing anything down. So this is how I know this is true because a lot of these rappers are going directly from the top of their head and laying down these bars. They're not taking a full however long it may take to write a full 16 bars, or to write a full song, to go, deep into their own consciousness. Most of them are, you can say, are freestyling. Soon as they're able to put those words together, they're landed on the beat. So this is not, you can say, just completely strategic. They're literally pulling as fast as they can from the air. So that's why these words and these phrases are able to catch wind so fast because, again, they are basically channeling. That's what it means to channel. See, this is a whole different way of creation. Meaning it's different when you sit down and you write bars versus freestyling. Because when you're freestyling, again, it's like the first thing that comes to you or the first phrase that can fit these particular bars, you are laying that down immediately. Meaning you come into the studio and you don't know what you're going to say. But by the time you leave the studio, you have a whole song, right? But you didn't even know what you were going to say before you even came in the studio. So that's a channel versus somebody who's just activating their penmanship. So that's the difference between penmanship and somebody channeling from the spirit directly. That's a direct channel from spirit because it never became physical. The words never became physical. As we know, music is not physical. So the only way to make your lyrics or your words physical is to write them down. However, if you never wrote anything down, the words never reach the physical plane. So this is the difference. Like when you write, the words become physical. So now you're taking physical words and then you're putting those physical words behind a beat. And when you put those physical words behind a beat, that you can say you're taking the earth element and now you're bringing the earth element up into the higher chambers. But if you never wrote down the words, they never became earthy. They never became solidified. You can say they stayed in the spiritual world. They never descended into the physical because they come out as words. Words are not physical, and then the music is not physical. So they stayed in the higher planes. That's how we know it's a direct channel because it never made it to the physical. So that's why these words become so catchy. Again, most of these artists are not writing anything down. So this works, you can say, to their benefit, but also the detriment, right? So Dank was it works to their benefit and it works to their detriment because you can say that's the main difference between, you can say, like the old school rappers and the new school rappers, because the new school rappers are not writing anything down. So you could say the penmanship suffers because of that. So when we listen to the new music and we say, okay, all they're doing is pretty much war chants. All they're doing is this drill music that's full of war chants. It's not really anything in depth. That's because this music is not being written down. And because it's not being written down, you can say they are limited to how deep they are able to penetrate into the consciousness. because it's really not meant to penetrate that deep into the consciousness in the first place. Versus if you go back to the 90s and you go back to the late 80s, the whole purpose was to penetrate into the consciousness. That's why it took like a whole year for people to even release music. You had certain artists, it would be a whole year before you had another album. They may put out one album per year. Versus now, a person could put out 3, 4, 5 projects in a year. There's some people that's dropping singles like every month, every couple days, every week. Right? You got artists dropping singles every week. Excuse me. You got projects coming out monthly. So there's no way you can work at that rapid of a pace and you're writing everything down. So again, on one side of the coin, the music suffers, but on another side of the coin, it allows us to move a lot more rapidly. It allows us to pull directly from spirit. So every now and then, they may say something that's extraordinary. Versus in the older hip hop, you can say every bar was extraordinary. Like when you listen to the lyrics of Rakim, you can say every bar was extraordinary. Every song was extraordinary. But when it comes to the new generation, you can say they can release a whole album. Let's just say a whole album contains 12 songs. It may only be 1 or 2 songs that hit. Because that was, you can say, the song that they were able to penetrate into the spirit deeper than usual. So they were able to pull out, you can say, something divine within the demonic energy. They was able to tap into something divine within all this demon shit. But they wasn't able to do it for the whole project. It may only be 1 or 2 songs. And essentially, that's all they need. All you need is a hot single for people to even invest in you, right? So essentially, that's all they need. So that's really all they're going for. All they're going for is 1 or 2 hot tracks out of a full project. Because that'd be the one that hit the hardest. Because they went the deepest into the spirit that particular time. So again, it's you could say it's bittersweet. So even though they're putting out more music, they may, again, your favorite artist, you may only like 4 or 5, 6 songs out of your favorite artist, and they didn't put out project at the project at the project, but it only may be a handful of songs that you actually like. They may have 100 songs. You may only like 5 of them, between 5 and 10 songs out of 100. Versus when you look at the older rappers, you can like listen to the full CD. Well, I guess the full MP3 now. You can listen to the full album without skipping a single track. You say it's not too much music that you can just listen to the whole thing without skipping a track at this point, because again, there's not too much words that are being written down, right? But honestly, I say it's better that way anyway, because it's directly from the spirit. We are not in a time where people want to think that deeply anyway. We're not in a time where people are just going to go research what you're talking about and they're trying to better themselves and all that. We already know that the youth ain't trying to do anything that takes too much time. They want to move at a rapid pace because that's just the time we're on. We are on demon time, and demon time is moving very quickly. So that's why the music is coming out more quickly. And again, people are not trying to think too deeply, and so be it. So again, if it's only 1 or 2 tracks that hit, it's just only going to be 1 or 2 tracks that hit, right? Even I'm doing this for my own music. Like when I'm looking at my own music, it's like I don't even like writing anymore. So I completely understand the youth, because I end up in this same predicament as like I don't even want to write. I don't want to take the time to write a whole goddamn track, because you can be writing all day. Like even the tracks I have released, the Deja Vu, the San Simon, the Cali, all of those tracks were written, but they took all fucking day. It took all day to write that. It took all day to configure that. Then I had to record it. Then I had to edit it, mix it, and master it. So it's a whole fucking process. And I'm like, I can understand why the youth is not like, it takes too long. And they're like, yo, I'm just trying to get in and get out. They're just trying to get in and get out. They're not trying to spend too much time on one track. See, that's the difference between the older and the newer. See, the older, they're basically trying to master the tracks. The tracks need to be mastered. So they'd take a whole month to write a song and record a song and then mix and master it. Then the whole process may be months before they actually release it to the public. So they can spend a hell of a lot of time on just one track, making sure that it's mastered. Versus now, the youth ain't trying to spend all that time on just one track. They'd be good if they can get 2, 3, 4, 5 songs done in a day, and they're cool with that. They're not just trying to focus all their energy on one track. They want to go through multiple tracks because, again, they're not trying to spend that much time. They're trying to get in and get out because that's just how fast the earth is rotating right now. That's how fast the earth is evolving right now. The earth is not trying to spend too much time on one thing. So again, I came to these conclusions personally because, again, like I be writing these songs, but then it takes too long. I be feeling like this shit is taking too long. Like I started getting irritated. I'm like, yo, I'm ready to move to the next song, but I still got bars to write. I still got to do this. I still got to do that. And like you be ready to go to the next song. And the only way to keep up with that is to do the songs in real time. So that's why I had to put the pen down. I'm literally at a point now where I put the pen down. I'm like, yo, I ain't trying to take this goddamn long. So I'm just laying a track down directly from the mental plane. I'm going directly from the mental plane because I'm like, I ain't trying to take too long. So that's why I give people a couple tracks where I took a lot of time to write, but I'm not trying to make every song like that because it's just going to take too long to do music, and I'm just writing down everything. It's just going to take too long. A couple tracks can be like that, but then a couple tracks is going to be straight off the dome. The first lines that's able to fit into these bars, and I'm just going to lay it down. And again, we know this started with Jay-Z, and then Notorious B.I.G. picked it up. So once Notorious B.I.G. he witnessed what Jay-Z did, he put his pen down and like, yo. So he like just imagine Notorious B.I.G. He's in the studio with his pen writing his bars. Then Jay-Z go in there, go in the booth, lay down his 16, and he gets to go the fuck home. While you still writing your shit. You ain't even finished writing. He didn't went in there, laid down the bars, and he's able to enjoy the rest of his day. And you still ain't even finished your 16, and you still got to go in there and lay the track down vocally and lyrically. You still got to go in the booth and make it happen. So by the time he's finished and he's all off to the next thing, you're still writing bars. So I can completely understand why the youth nowadays, and again, of course, then Lil Wayne, the youth was more so inspired by Lil Wayne because he was saying that he didn't write any of his bars. And I completely understand that. So while the person who can just go in there and just go right off the top of the head and they're already done before you're even done writing, then now everybody's waiting on you. So if you're on a song too, like yo, you're still writing and everybody else done laid down their bars because they didn't came off the top of the dome. So like you're slowing down the creative rotation. They're ready to go to the next song and you're still writing your bars. So that's why I say I completely understand why the youth ain't really trying to take that much time to make that shit happen because you end up, everybody's just waiting on you because you're taking the longest. So even though you may have the best lyrics because you took the longest time, you may have the best bars, but they on their fifth or sixth song and you just finished your one song. And they already way past you. So eventually you just want to keep up. You're not trying to take that much time when it's not necessary. So I'm just giving it from the perspective of somebody who, for the last 10 years, have been activating their pen, and then they come to the conclusion, all right, this is just going to take too long moving forward. I need to put this pen down in order to advance my bars, in order to do things I can't do with the pen. See, the pen can't do certain things. See, again, I'm just speaking from my own personal perspective at this point. The pen can't do certain things. Meaning, you're not going to remember the flow of all of these 16 bars. So let's just say you write all your bars. You're not going to remember the flow of all 16 of those bars because you didn't spend so much time writing it. So by the time you get to the 16th bar, you may have forgot how the flow of the first bar goes, or the fifth bar, or the seventh bar. You're not going to remember the flow of each of these bars just locked into your memory. It's going to take time to do that. However, when you put the pen down, you can focus on the flow, piece by piece. So then when you put it together, you have all of the flows intact. See, again, that was a problem that I was coming up. So by the time I got done writing everything, I don't even remember how I'm supposed to perform the song. I'm like, damn, how does that flow go? So it's just words on paper at that point. I'm like, yeah, it's just words on paper, but I don't know how to deliver these words because I didn't spend all my time writing these words. So when it comes time to perform these words, I'm like, I don't know. Okay, I'm supposed to breathe here. I'm supposed to stop here. Like all of the subtle emphasis, in the bars, you lose that. You lose all of the subtle emphasis. Okay, I need to get louder on this word, softer on this word. And again, if you're trying to remember all that and you're trying to put all that on paper, it's going to be a mess. Okay, I need this word needs to be louder. I need to breathe here. Like trying to put all that on paper, it just makes it chaotic. But if you're doing it straight off the dome, soon as you got the flow master, you lay it down. You go to the next bar, you master the flow, lay it down, next bar, and then so you're able to master every single bar, the flow of it. So that's essentially what the youth have done. The youth have concentrated more on the flow instead of the lyrics. So even though the lyrics have, you can say, been reduced, the flow is more advanced. Like you go back to the older songs, the older hip hop songs, the flows are simplified. It's a simplified flow. So they're talking big lyricism, but the flow is stagnant. It's like they got the same flow the whole 16 bars because that's what happens when you write it down. So your flow is going to suffer when you write it down. But if you don't write it down, your flow can be pushed to the max. So although it's not as lyrically sophisticated, the flow is just as sophisticated, so it makes up for the lyrics. So that's essentially, so I understand this now because I had to come to this conclusion on my own, just being a writer myself. I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing here because I hit a brick wall. I'm like, what's the point of writing these lyrically advanced rhymes if I don't even remember the flow? Or the flow is the same the whole 16 bars. So I'm saying lyrically advanced things, but the flow is stagnated. Versus the lyrics are not as advanced, but the flow is all over the place. The flow is advanced, and you can manipulate it and dance with it and do all type of stuff. So that's why the youth are more about you said these dance, and they just want to write things, not even write. They want to perform these bars and these flows so that people are dancing, because that's what they're doing now, right? They're more about the dance. You want to have a flow that people are able to dance to, versus you want to stimulate the minds of the people. And again, I completely understand that. So that's essentially what makes hip hop more advanced at this point. Hip hop is at its most advanced point because of the flow. It's not the lyrics, it's because of these flows. You're not going to find these flows in any other music genre. That's why hip hop is the most advanced music. Because of the flows. It's not the lyrics, it's the flows. Ain't nobody flowing like a hip hopper. Ain't nobody flowing like these rappers. You're just not going to find it nowhere else. It's not as advanced. All right? So that's what it is. Hopefully y'all understand this. So I just wanted to add in my personal perspective to give an overall understanding. And we'll get up out of here. I'll see y'all at the next video. 93, 93, 93.